Okay, so you know how we like to do these deep dives, right? You've sent us this really interesting collection of information, market research, scientific publications, business intelligence, even patent data. And our whole goal here is to kind of distill it down into like the key insights for you. So
Right.
think of it as like your personalized download,
Exactly.
like really critical knowledge
I like that.
on a super cutting edge topic.
Absolutely.
So today we're diving into Insilico Medicine,
Okay.
an AI drug discovery company.
Yeah.
And we're going to really try to understand, where they sit in the competitive landscape.
Yeah.
What are their most like significant scientific contributions?
For sure.
What is the intellectual property that they've secured?
Makes sense.
And really importantly, how far along are they in actually bringing AI discovered drugs to patients?
Right on.
So we've got a pretty rich set of sources here.
Yeah.
We've got an analysis of their competitive landscape.
Nice.
We've got a deep dive into their most influential research. We've got a review of their key patents.
Got it.
And we've got an overview of the AI-powered drugs that they have in clinical trials.
Awesome.
So are you ready to deep dive into Insilico Medicine?
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's start by just painting the big picture here.
Yeah, for sure.
Insilico Medicine was founded in 2014 by Alex Zavoronkov,
That's right.
and their primary focus is on using artificial intelligence
Yep.
to discover and develop new therapies
Yeah.
for a range of diseases,
Yeah.
including things like cancers, fibrotic conditions,
Yeah.
and what I think is really interesting is
Okay.
aging-related diseses.
For sure.
And they have a global presence
Right.
with offices in Boston, Hong Kong, and New York.
Absolutely.
So, they're not like a small little startup in someone's garage.
Right.
They're really out there.
They're a global company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, their core engine, as I understand it,
Yeah.
is this pharma.ai platform.
Exactly.
And this isn't just like one piece of AI.
That's a suite of tools. Yeah. It's a platform, as the name suggests.
It incorporates like,
Yeah.
GANs, right? Generative adversarial networks.
Yeah, one of the hottest things in AI right now.
And reinforcement learning.
Yeah, they're really using the cutting edge.
So this seems like really sophisticated stuff.
It is.
So let's break this down a little bit for like, somebody who maybe isn't like super deep in the AI world.
Sure.
How would you explain like what a GAN does?
Yeah, so think about it this way. You've got two AIs, and they're kind of battling it out.
Okay.
One is trying to make really realistic looking drug molecules, and the other one is like the bouncer at the club.
Okay.
Saying, hey, you're not getting in, you're a fake.
Oh,
you know?
Interesting.
But as they go back and forth, they both get really good at their jobs.
Are their jobs?
So the one making the molecules is making really good molecules that could be drugs.
Right.
And the one checking is getting really good at finding the good ones.
Okay.
And so you're really accelerating that process of discovery.
So it's like this adversarial process that makes them both better?
Yeah. They're both learning from each other.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so they've got this really powerful AI platform.
Yeah.
But they're not just, like doing early stage research.
No, they're a clinical stage biotech company,
Cool.
which means they have drugs that are being tested in people.
In actual humans.
In actual humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got at least one that's already in phase 2 trials.
Right, which is a pretty big deal.
That's a huge deal.
For drug development.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not easy to get a drug into phase 2 trials.
No, it's very expensive and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have to go right.
Now, you mentioned that they're focused on aging-related diseases.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it gets, like, really interesting.
Yeah, it's a very hot area.
Because it seems like most companies are targeting, like, specific diseases.
Right.
That happen to occur more frequently with age.
Yeah, so like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, heart disease, things like that.
Right. But Insilico seems to be, like, going after the underlying processes of aging itself.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out.
Like, what is aging?
Yeah, what are the mechanisms?
Yeah.
And how can we target those?
And how can we, like, slow it down or reverse it?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It's a very ambitious goal.
It is, but if they're successful.
Huge implications.
Huge.
Yeah.
So they've got this, incredibly powerful AI platform.
Yeah.
They're going after this, like, really novel therapeutic area.
Yeah.
But, the AI drug discovery field is pretty crowded.
It is. It's very competitive.
So who are, like, the other major players that we should be aware of?
So our analysis found 5 main competitors.
Okay.
Recursion Pharmaceuticals, Exscientia, Atomwise, Benevolent AI, and Relay Therapeutics.
Okay, so that's 5 companies that are all using AI to discover and develop drugs.
Exactly, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses.
And they're focusing on different diseases.
Yeah. Some are focused on cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Some are focused on rare diseases. Some are focused on genetic disorders.
So it's a pretty diverse landscape.
It is.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Starting with Insilico Medicine.
All right.
They were founded in 2014 in Boston.
Yep.
They've raised over $400 million in funding.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. They have multiple drug candidates in their pipeline, with at least one in phase 2 trials.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're targeting a pretty broad spectrum of diseases.
Right.
From cancer and fibrosis to aging-related conditions.
Very diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their core technology, as we talked about, it's generative AI, GNs, reinforcement learning.
Right, the cutting edge.
And they have partnerships with a number of companies.
Absolutely. They're working with other companies to develop their drugs.
Okay, so that's Insilico in a nutshell.
Yep.
Now, what about Recursion Pharmaceuticals?
So Recursion was founded a year earlier in 2013 in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And they're a public company.
Okay, so that's a big difference, right?
Mm-hmm. Huge difference.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it means they have access to a lot more capital.
Right.
And they have a market cap of around $3 billion.
Wow.
Which is significantly larger than Insilico's funding.
Yeah.
So they're a much bigger company.
Yeah.
They also have multiple drug candidates in their pipeline, 4 of which are already in clinical trials.
Wow. So they're further along than Insilico in terms of clinical development.
It seems so, yeah.
Okay.
Their focus is a little bit more narrow.
Okay.
They're focused on rare diseases, oncology, neuroscience.
Okay.
And they're using a variety of technologies, including AI, machine learning, and automation.
Okay. And they're working with some big pharma companies like Roche and Bayer.
They are, yeah. So they have some pretty big partnerships.
Okay. So Recursion is a much bigger company.
Yeah.
Publicly traded. More drugs in clinical trials.
Yes.
More partnerships with big pharma.
Right.
Okay. What about Exscientia?
So Exscientia was founded in 2012 in Oxford.
Okay. So a little bit earlier than Insilico.
Yeah, by a couple of years.
And they've raised about $450 million.
Right. So similar to Insilico in terms of funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have multiple drug candidates as well, with at least one in phase 1 trials.
So a little bit earlier in the clinical development process than Recursion.
Right.
Wow.
And their focus is on oncology and immunology.
Yeah, so they're a little bit more focused than Insilico and Recursion.
Okay, and their core technology is AI and machine learning for drug design.
That's right.
And they have a partnership with Sanofi.
Yeah, a big French pharmaceutical company.
Okay, so Exscientia is kind of like in between Insilico and Recursion.
Yeah, I would say
in terms of size and stage of development.
Yes.
Okay, what about Atomwise?
So Atomwise was founded in 2012 in San Francisco.
Okay.
And they've raised $174 million.
Okay, so significantly less than Insilico and Exscientia.
Significantly less.
They have multiple drug candidates, but it looks like their lead candidate is still in preclinical development.
Right, so they haven't gotten to human trials yet.
Okay.
But they're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their focus is on oncology and inflammatory diseases, and their core technology is called AtomNet.
Which is a deep learning platform.
Okay. And they also have partnerships with various pharma companies.
They do, yeah.
Okay, so Atomwise is a little bit earlier stage
Yeah.
than the other companies we've talked about.
Yes.
Okay, what about Benevolent AI?
So Benevolent AI is a UK-based company.
Okay.
They were founded in 2013 in London.
Right.
They're also a public company.
Okay.
But their market cap is much smaller than Recursion's.
Yep.
It's around 36 million euros.
Okay.
They have 13 named drug programs.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Some of which are in clinical trials.
Okay.
And their focus is on complex diseases.
Right.
And they have a proprietary AI platform.
Right, and they have a partnership with AstraZeneca.
They do, yeah.
Okay, so Benevolent AI is an interesting one.
Yeah, they have a lot of programs.
Yeah.
But their valuation is pretty low.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally we have Relay Therapeutics.
So Relay Therapeutics is the youngest of these companies.
Cool.
They were founded in 2016 in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
All right.
And they have a market cap of around $830 million.
Okay, so they're publicly traded as well.
They are, yeah.
Okay.
They have multiple drug candidates, several of which are in clinical trials.
Okay.
And their focus is on precision oncology and genetic diseases.
Right.
And they're using a really interesting technology called protein motion-based drug discovery.
Protein motion.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
So they're actually looking at how proteins move.
Yeah, and they're using that information to design drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cutting edge.
Okay, and they have a partnership with Genentech?
They do, yeah.
Okay, so Relay is another publicly traded company with a pretty sizable market cap.
Yes.
And they're further along in clinical development.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got these 6 companies.
Yeah.
All using AI to discover and develop drugs.
It's a really exciting field.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're all at different stages of development.
And they're all taking different approaches.
Yeah. So where does Insilico fit into all of this?
So I think Insilico has a lot of strengths.
Good.
They have a really strong AI platform.
Yeah, their pharma AI platform.
Exactly.
Seems pretty impressive.
It is. And they have a global presence.
Right. They're not just limited to one geographic area.
That's right.
And they have some good partnerships.
They do. Yeah.
But they also have some weaknesses.
They do.
They're a private company.
Right.
Which means they don't have the same access to capital as their publicly traded competitors.
Exactly. And that can be a real challenge in drug development.
Right, because drug development is incredibly expensive.
It is.
Yeah. And they're also very reliant on AI.
Which is both a strength and a weakness.
Right, because AI is evolving so rapidly.
Yeah.
So they have to constantly be adapting and investing in new technology.
Right, and that can be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to be careful.
They do.
Okay, so they've got strength, they've got weaknesses. What about opportunities?
Well, the AI drug discovery market is growing rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about AI these days.
It's the hottest thing.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely.
And they're really focused on this like novel area of aging-related diseases.
Right, and that could be a huge market.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting older.
That's right.
So if they can figure out how to slow down or reverse aging.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge market.
And they could also, partner with more big pharma companies.
Yeah, they could license their technology or their drugs.
Or their drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of opportunities.
Full of opportunity.
What about threats?
Well, drug development is a very regulated industry.
Yeah, it's not easy to get a drug approved.
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time.
And it's expensive.
And it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, AI is evolving very rapidly.
Oh, so their technology could become obsolete.
Right.
Yeah.
And the economy is always a factor.
Yeah, if there's a recession,
right,
it could be harder to raise money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got strengths, they've got weaknesses, they've got opportunities, they've got threats.
That's every company.
That is every company.
Yeah.
But I think overall Insilico is a really interesting company.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing some really cutting edge work.
Yeah, they're really pushing the boundaries of AI in drug discovery.
Okay, so we talked about like the company,
the
competitive landscape, the opportunities, the threats.
SWOT analysis.
Yeah, the SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the science a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
We've got this analysis of their top 10 most cited research papers. And what's really interesting is that Alex Zavrankov, the founder, has over 250 publications since 2010.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot of papers.
Yeah. So he's clearly very active in the field.
He's a thought leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key findings from these papers?
So one of their most highly cited papers was published in 2019.
Okay.
And it's called Deep Learning Enables Rapid Identification of Potent DDR1 Kinase Inhibitors.
Okay, now that's a mouthful.
It is.
Can you break that down a little bit?
Sure. So basically they use deep learning to identify molecules that could block a specific enzyme.
Okay.
Called DDR1 kinase.
Okay.
And this enzyme is involved in a number of diseases, including cancer and fibrosis.
Okay, so they're basically using AI to find drugs that could treat cancer and fibrosis.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
And this paper has been cited over 1,200 times.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. So it's clearly a very influential paper.
It is.
What other papers stood out to you?
So another one that I thought was really interesting was published in 2016.
Okay.
And it's called Applications of Deep Learning in Biomedicine.
Okay, so a little bit broader in scope.
Much broader, yeah.
Oh.
This paper is kind of like a review of all the different ways that deep learning can be used in medicine.
Okay.
And they talk about things like drug discovery, diagnostics, personalized medicine.
Okay, so it's like a really good overview of the field.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's been cited over 800 times.
Wow.
So it's also very influential, yeah.
And then there's another paper from 2017 called DRUGAN, an advanced generative adversarial autoencoder model for de novo generation of new molecules with desired molecular properties in silico.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
Can you break that one down for us?
Yeah, so basically they're using a type of AI called a generative adversarial network.
A GAN.
A GAN.
Yeah.
To design new drug molecules from scratch.
Oh, wow.
So they're not just looking for existing molecules, they're actually creating new ones.
That's amazing.
It is, yeah.
And this paper has been cited nearly 600 times.
So it's also very influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a more recent paper.
Yeah, this one was published in 2024.
Okay, so very recent.
Very recent.
Yeah.
And it's called A Small Molecule TNIK Inhibitor Targets Fibrosis in Preclinical and Clinical Models.
Okay. And this one was published in Nature Biotechnology.
That's right, which is a very prestigious journal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's so special about this paper?
So this paper describes a drug that Insilico designed using AI that has reached phase 2 clinical trials for the treatment of fibrosis.
Wow. So they've actually taken a drug from AI design all the way to human trials.
They have.
That's amazing.
It is, yeah.
And this paper hasn't been cited as much as the other ones.
It hasn't. That's just because it's so new.
Right.
Yeah, it takes time for papers to get cited.
But it's still a really important paper.
Yeah, it is, because it shows that Insilico is actually able to translate their AI research into real-world results.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about their publications.
Yeah.
Let's talk about their intellectual property.
Okay.
What kind of patents have they filed?
So they filed a number of patents, but there are two that I think are particularly important.
Okay.
The first one is U.S. patent 1189498B2.
Okay.
Which was granted in February of 2024.
Right.
And the title of this patent is A Variational Autoencoder with a Learnable Prior Parametrized with a Tensor Train.
Okay. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, it's very technical.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a patent on their AI method for generating new drug molecules.
Oh.
So it's like their secret sauce.
So they're protecting their AI technology.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the inventors on this patent are Alexei Kadurin and Alexei Polikovsky,
Okay.
who are both members of their AI team.
Okay, so they're the brains behind the operation.
They are. And then the second patent that I want to talk about is U.S. patent 119999713B2, which was granted in June of 2024.
Right.
And this patent is on MAT2A inhibitors.
MAT2A inhibitors.
Yeah.
What are those?
So MAT2A is an enzyme that's involved in a number of biological processes. And inhibiting this enzyme could be beneficial in treating certain diseases.
Okay.
So Insilico has designed a drug that inhibits MAT2A.
Using their AI.
Using your AI.
And they've patented it.
They have. And the inventors on this patent are Jiaqun Chen and Xiao Ding.
Okay. And they're probably chemists or biologists.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because it shows that Insilico is not just patenting their AI methods.
Right.
They're also patenting the actual drugs that their AI discovers.
Exactly.
Which is really important because that's how they're going to make money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got the science, they've got the patents. Are they actually getting drugs into clinical trials? Okay, tell me about that.
So they have one drug that's in clinical trials right now.
Okay.
It's called NS18055.
INS018055.
NS018055.
Yeah, it's a very catchy name.
Yeah, it rolls right off the tongue.
I know.
Okay, and what disease is this drug targeting?
So this drug is targeting idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Yeah, which is a really serious lung disease.
Okay.
It causes scarring in the lungs.
Uh-huh.
And it makes it really hard to breathe.
So it's a pretty debilitating disease.
It is.
Yeah. And they have multiple clinical trials registered for this drug.
They do.
Okay, what stages are these trials in?
So they have one phase 1 trial that's already been completed.
Okay.
And that trial was conducted in New Zealand.
Okay.
And then they have 2 phase 2 trials that are currently ongoing.
Okay.
And those trials are recruiting participants in the U.S. and China.
So they're really going global with this.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what makes this drug so special?
So this is the first drug that was entirely generated by generative AI. Like the entire drug.
The entire drug.
Wow.
From start to finish.
That's incredible.
It is.
And this is a huge milestone.
It is, yeah.
For Insilico and for the entire field of AI drug discovery.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned that there was an unexpected detail
about
their clinical trial activity.
So INS-01055 is the only drug that Insilico is directly sponsoring in clinical trials.
Okay.
But they've also licensed some of their other AI-designed drugs to other companies.
Oh, okay.
And those companies are running their own clinical trials.
Yeah, can you give me an example?
Yeah, so one example is a drug called XL309,
Okay.
which was previously known as ISM-0091.
Okay.
And this drug is being developed for cancer.
Okay.
And it's currently in phase 1 trials.
Okay.
But the trial is being run by a company called Exelixis.
Okay, so Insilico licensed the drug to Exelixis.
That's right.
And Exelixis is responsible for running the trial.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's another drug called ISM-3312,
Okay.
which is being developed for COVID-19. And this drug has been approved for clinical trials in China.
Okay.
But it's not registered on clinicaltrials.gov.
Which is the U.S. database of clinical trials.
Right. Wow.
Okay, so Insilico is involved in multiple clinical trials.
They are.
But they're not necessarily the sponsor of all of them.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're taking a multi-pronged approach
Sure.
to getting their drugs to patients.
Yeah, they're licensing some drugs,
Well,
they're developing some drugs themselves,
Yeah.
and they're working with partners in different countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex picture.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's very exciting.
It is. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about the company, the competitive landscape, the science, the intellectual property, the clinical trials.
Everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of wrap things up
Okay.
with a SWOT analysis.
Right.
So what are Insilico's strengths?
So their strengths are their strong AI platform.
Yeah.
And their global presence and their partnerships.
Okay, and what are their weaknesses?
Their weaknesses are that they're a private company.
Yeah.
So they don't have as much access to capital as their publicly traded competitors.
Right.
And they're reliant on AI.
Which is evolving very rapidly.
Very rapidly.
Yeah. Okay, what about opportunities?
So the opportunities are that the AI drug discovery market is growing rapidly.
Right.
They're focused on this very hot area of aging-related diseases.
Yeah.
And they could partner with more big pharma companies.
Okay, and what about threats?
So the threats are the regulatory complexities of drug development,
Okay.
the rapid pace of AI innovation.
Which could make their technology obsolete.
Exactly.
And the economy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it.
The SWOT analysis.
The SWOT analysis of Insilico Medicine.
A very interesting company.
A very interesting company.
Yeah.
They're definitely a company to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So to sum it all up for you, we've taken a deep dive into Insilico Medicine.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a company that was founded in 2014.
Yeah.
Their goal is to use AI to discover and develop new drugs.
That's right.
They're focused on a variety of diseases,
Ah.
including cancer, fibrosis, and aging-related diseases.
Yep.
They have a really impressive AI platform
You do.
called Pharma.
AI. Yeah.
They've published a number of influential research papers.
They have.
They've filed a number of patents.
Yes.
And they have multiple drugs in clinical trials.
Including one that was entirely designed by AI.
Which is a huge milestone.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Insilico Medicine is a company that's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
They are.
And I think they're a company that we're going to be hearing a lot about in the years to come.
I agree.
Yeah.